Hold up. Before I show you my build, let me show you my insane orb prime that won my team the game. I shadow slip in, steal the orb, shadow slip out, and secure a kill. Unfortunately I die, but I denied the enemy team OP, we get an inhibitor off it, and eventually we win. Countess. The dodges were real, the game crashes were insane, the ultimate is bugged, but I soldiered on for you guys. This will probably be a shorter build and guide with less footage because I was only able to play a few amount of games without the game crashing every time. But I had played Countess loads before this and I'm pretty sure I have good enough knowledge to give you guys a solid build. I played around with a few builds and eventually settled on one that I liked, but feel free to adapt it slightly if you want, but this is definitely a great build to start with. I take my Warlord as my prime card, a health potion, double strike token, and blink charm. You can switch out your health potion for Hunter's Drink at level 7 for better health regen. Blink charm helps if you're forced to middle lane, but generally I like to solo the blue lane and don't really find I need blink charm. The meat of the deck is as follows: Scourging Tails, which I leave empty. This is because our penetration item is quite expensive, but we can take this card early on and then discard it when we have enough points for our Stonetooth heart. Taking this card early on allows us to penetrate those enemies without investing too many points. Next is our Adamant Edge with 2 minor strikes and a lesser health. Amulet of the Veteran with 3 major strikes, a Brawler's Ward with 2 minor strikes and a minor health. We then have 2 Fountain Spikes, the first of which is 2 major strikes and a mana, while the second has 2 minor strikes and a basic mana. So far you can see that we have a lot of damage, quite a bit of mana, and this is because Countess relies on her abilities to deal the majority of the damage. We need the mana so we don't have to back every 2 seconds. Pendulum of Lords with 3 Chronos gives us 20% CDR, and with the blue buff you're at that 40% cap. Our final 2 cards are Voidsteel Dagger with a strike and 2 major strikes, followed by our Stonetooth heart, a greater health, a greater Peirce, and a minor Peirce. I would also throw in a Madspore Sash, especially if you're up against Iggy. It'll allow you to farm peacefully while Madspore Sash's passive will take down his turrets. The build order is as follows: I'll start with a health potion and double strike token. Once I hit 6 points, I'll back and grab my Brawler's Ward for that extra damage and a bit of mana. After that, I'll max out my Adamant Edge with 2 minor strikes and a lesser health. Remember to sell your health potion when you back at level 7 or higher and replace it with Hunter's Drink. Don't back specifically just to sell it. I then add my cheap Fountain Spike and max that out. Remember to take Scourging Tails when you need it. I didn't need it in this game, so I didn't take it. I could have taken damage with my Voidsteel Dagger, but I wanted to spam my abilities a bit more, so I get my Pendulum of Lords for that cooldown reduction and proceed to max it out. Once that is maxed, you can take the Amulet of the Veteran, your Fountain Spike, or Stonetooth heart, but I prefer to take my Voidsteel Dagger and invest in that completely. I then sell my Hunter's Drink, throw in my Amulet of the Veteran and max that out, selling my cheaper Fountain Spike and replacing it with a superior version. I then do the same with my Adamant Edge and replace that with my Stonetooth heart. This should have you sitting at 60 card points. The final build looks something like this. We have our Voidsteel Dagger with our damage and 16 points of penetration. Our Pendulum of Lords gives us 20% cooldown reduction, and with the blue buff we're at that 40% cap. We have our Stonetooth heart with penetration and health, our Fountain Spike with damage and mana, our Brawler's Ward with exactly the same, and then our Amulet of Health with some health and damage, giving us an incredibly bursty assassin, but with the ability to take down multiple targets, not just one. With regards to her abilities, I like to focus her Blade Siphon because of the passive, especially in the lane. The health regen helps out a lot. I'll then take my Dark Tide and then Shadow Slip. I focus a lot on my Blade Siphon and Dark Tide because of the passive on the Blade Siphon, and the majority of your damage comes from Dark Tide. I also want to point out that you can blink to enemy minions, so if you're in a Gideon ult or under attack, look for an enemy minion and blink to that as a way of escaping. Countess is really fun to play, and you can pull off some amazing jukes that can actually save your life. I was caught out on the blue lane as the enemy Countess attempted to gank me. I would have been fine, but Muriel ulted her and the knockup just caught me. They do a lot of damage to me as I race to safety under my tower. I'm ridiculously low, and I know that if Countess chases me, I'll die first, so I shadow slip to Muriel and then blink right back to confuse both of them and dodge any damage. I managed to get out safely with the jukes. In fact, as I was backing, I managed to get the kill on the enemy Countess because of her trying to tower dive me. Also want to point out that her Shadow Slip ability is great for dodging attacks like Feng Mao's ultimate, Grox's pull, and a lot of other abilities that come in a straight burst. As you can see, Feng Mao uses its ultimate, but I time my Shadow Slip ability perfectly that I take absolutely zero damage. I wanted to showcase this in PvP but didn't get a chance. If an enemy steal ults you, look up, press your Q and blink to him. This will mean you don't take damage or get knocked up. Super handy. As I mentioned, I like to play Countess in the blue lane because this has several advantages. Once she hits level 5, her ultimate is guaranteed damage. At the moment it kinda sucks because it's bugged and doesn't scale with cards, but once it does, laning with her will be so much easier. I also like being near the blue buff because the mana regen definitely helps and the cooldown reduction is never bad. Being in mid lane means you can rotate to left or right, and her kit does allow for some great ganking potential. However, you have no real escape and are incredibly gankable in lane. Sure, you can take blink, but this is on a cooldown for 180 seconds and only helps so much. You can do well in the mid lane, but I'd rather leave that to a hero like Howitzer or Gadget. Juggling with the Countess is just a bad idea in general because her auto attacks scale terribly. A big team fight has broken out in mid lane as Rampage desperately tries to destroy our Sparrow. I save my abilities for when his ultimate runs out, then as he tries to escape I blink to him, wreck him with my ultimate, and as Gideon tries to Q me I blink right out back to full health. This is what makes Countess so great. You can blink in, destroy someone and blink right back out. I wanted to make this guide a lot longer, but with her ultimate being bugged and constant crashes when trying to combo her blink ability, I think I'm going to save it for another video, potentially a full gameplay. Loads of you were asking for my build, so I wanted to get this out for you guys and then follow up with a longer video once Epic has fixed these problems. Smash that thumbs up button if you enjoyed, let me know your builds for Countess or if you're enjoying her. Subscribe for all the latest Paragon content and I'll see you guys soon.